It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out, it's trash day. Putting you out of my mind. It's trash day, I'm putting you out, it's trash day. I'm putting you out, trash day. I'm putting you out of my mind. Now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up, now I'm gonna clean up the house. I'm taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage, taking all your garbage.
And welcome back to another Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Mark the Mark Martinez, and Sir Michael Jenks is joining me once again. It's a generic entrance, Mike, because I don't know what I'm doing today.
You did fine. You did great. I was going to actually say, hello, governor. The night is here. But, you did fine. That was a good entrance. I think you got it down pat. It's like you've done it a time or two.
Yeah, a couple times. Here and there.
Here, there. Yeah, nothing too big.
I think I'm on... Damn it, I looked at this week, too. I think this might be episode 316. I think. I could be wrong.
So we should have started this off with its Can Crushers 316 says.
If this... son of a bitch. If this is episode 316 and I didn't do that...
What a missed opportunity.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll have to erase an episode and we can do that again next week. This is actually episode 316 because I deleted one. I should be on
Make up your own rules.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So, how's your week?
Week was fine. The weekend is busy. I have been at my mom's house with a couple other people in my family, and we're taking out carpet, putting in the floor, deconstructing ramps. And actually, before we recorded this, I was at the house, and it's Sunday morning, so
you're crazy.
We were there. I was there from 6 to 8 doing painting and all that, and I'll be going back there after we're done wrapping up here on the podcast. So. And I recorded the 40-year dash this morning, too.
All of them. This year, this morning, and this month.
This year, it's all across the board. I don't even know what time of day it is.
I did something I barely ever do. Jenks, I literally slept in. We're at 10:04 right now. I slept in until 9:30. I don't even know what that is like. Kelly actually said, hey, what time are you doing the podcast? I'm like, 10 o'clock. She's like, it's 9:30. I'm like, you have to be kidding. Which this is unbelievable that I slept in this long. I still went to bed at like 11 o'clock. As soon as the Penn State game was like, with 3 minutes left, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bed. They won.
Yeah.
Nope.
Right.
I've never slept that long in a long time. Max is here, by the way, all of a sudden. So, yeah, I'm a little bit out of kilter, but I feel great.
I think to your point, Mark, can't remember the last time I slept past 8, let alone 9.
Right.
Because usually, ever since I got Bailey, somehow I trained her to get me up at 5:15, 5:30 every morning. So it's really hard for me to get even past 6 o'clock some days. But yeah, I'm kind of jealous you got to sleep till 9:30 this morning.
I know. And you say 6 o'clock, like that's normally sleeping in for me. That's an extra 2 hours. I did an extra 5 hours of sleep today. That's unbelievable.
You must have been wiped out. Now, I'm guessing you didn't have a ton of Maker's Mark yesterday to make you pass out for a while, correct? So
I did not.
Was it just an accumulation of you just tired and doing a bunch of random stuff? I mean, what was your week like? Was it just building up to you just needed to pass out for 8 to 10 hours or what?
I think it was a very heavy work week. So we had a lot of, I'm not saying like stressed, but I mean like there was a ton of garbage. So there was a ton of garbage this week. I was kind of blah. But I took Friday off because I had nothing to do. I just have so much vacation. My boss is like, you got to start using your vacation so you don't take all of December off. I'm like, well, I wasn't planning on that, but yeah, you're right. So I took Friday off. And then I took Friday off of doing the football game because the older gentleman we work with, he's like, I'm going down anyway because it's going to be a great game. So I'm like, Barry, why don't you just do the game with Rich? I don't have to go. I said, then we have 3 people in the booth being idiots. He's like, oh, that'd be great. Plus it was 2.5 hours away. So I got out of the long distance football game this week. And I didn't do anything Friday. Saturday, I punched around the house, did this. I was going to cut the grass, but I'm like, I can do that tomorrow. I didn't look at the weather. It is a monsoon outside right now, so the grass will be waiting until probably March or May to cut, because now it's October. Nobody really gives a shit about grass. I don't know. I think I was just, I don't want to say emotionally, physically, and everything. I was just tired. That boom.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not like I did a lot of hard work. I didn't move flooring or anything like you did.
Yeah, it's been, but the whole week it'll be accumulative, and it just makes you want to sleep for the rest of the time. I have done so much moving. This is the most I've worked out in the past 8 months of actually the whole pandemic, to be honest. Moved the flooring into the house on Friday night and then started right back up at 8, I think, yesterday morning.
Are you guys doing that pergo flooring?
Yeah, we're doing, it's just that snap and stuff. I think it's Pergo. The one we got, it's not called Pergo, but I think it's along the same line.
Yeah, it's essentially the same. That's what I put in the house last year, roughly at this time.
Oh yeah.
I did the studio first, and I had a mental breakdown that it wasn't lining up. It wasn't. I'm like, I fucking hate this stuff. We're just going to have shitty wood floors. Kelly's like, we could put carpet over it. I'm like, we just spent a lot of money on this. I have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then once you figure it out, it actually goes pretty good. You seem like a giant moron once you figure out how it works.
Well, that's it. We did my brother-in-law's kitchen floor a couple of years ago, and that one took me a little bit of time to figure it out. But ever since we did that one, it's the Pergo floor. Once I figured it out, it went fast. And then it was the same thing with this floor last year, actually earlier this year. And now with my mom's, it's going to go twice.
Look at you. You're just Jenks flooring. No, you're back. You're back. You must have been a glitch or something, huh?
Glitch in the Matrix, I think it was. I was talking about flooring too much, so that's probably about it.
That's probably why. They said, hey, you guys got a wrestling show, and it's a special wrestling show. Jenks, you're going to be part of Ask Can Crushers.
I've been excited for this all week. I've been diligently thinking of answers for questions I have no clue what they are. So this should be interesting.
Yeah, let me preface this. I literally just copy and paste them in the notes, so I really don't read them. So I don't. Plus, there's about 10 of them, and I threw a lot of stupid ones away. But we'll get to the rules of Ask Can Crushers in segment 3. We're gonna power through wrestling real quick. So yeah, let's just start with wrestling for the week. As Jenks, what did you think about Extreme Rules? Did you get to watch all of it?
I did get to watch all of it. I'm very thoroughly upset by the way the Demon lost. I will say that. I'm going to start there because they could have just let Roman win and it would have been fine, but they had to do the hokey, the ropes broke, and that's how he's going to lose by some chaotic neutral. I don't know what it was, but that kind of pissed me off a little bit.
I'm glad you're starting there because besides, and I'll say the two main events, I like this card. I hated the outcome. Well, not the outcome. I just hated the way they got to the outcome for the two main events. Did you see the fan camera shot? Holy shit, words are not coming to my mouth today. The video from a fan that was just released, I think it was Thursday or Friday, that it was the cameraman that broke the ropes to make Finn fall.
I did see that. So I guess they wanted to have, that's the way to do it. And that explains the lighting that they use so that they can get the cameraman to sneak in there and break the ropes for him.
Yeah.
Although, actually, I want to go a little bit ahead of that when they started doing the lighting and the stupid heartbeat that was going on. What are you doing?
I hated that.
That was so
hated
stupid.
That. That whole red thing brought me back to the Rollins and Bray and Hell in a Cell where we had to watch the whole match in red. Yep. Didn't you learn from that the people hated it? So let's do it again.
I think at this point they just don't give a shit whether people hate it or like it or what.
I agree.
I guess Bray's gone, so they have to meet the budget of the red lighting. I guess I don't know. but that hurt.
Do you
that
think
was just-
the Demon is gone now?
I think he has to be. I really don't think you can bring the Demon back. I think there's been some very, I don't want to say irreparable damage done to him, but I think there's been a lot of damage done to that character that I don't think he can come back anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. He went through tables, he went through this, and his heartbeat came back, and essentially he fell. And I'm not saying this mean at all. He fell 4 feet, got a spear, and lost the match.
Yeah. I mean, if that was their plan to anyways, they could have did a spot where it was a spear through the table or spear into a carrier or something. Make it at least a wrestling move that costs them the match, not some hokey BS that's going to happen for some reason. I don't know.
Have Brock come out and just decimate him. I would have been fine with that and say something that the Demon actually fought essentially fighting 2 matches. He had to fight the whole Roman Reigns match, and then he was just F5'd or whatever 6 times. But that makes sense that the Demon can't even get up from that. But to fall a little bit off the top rope, and actually that could have effed up his knee in real talk, the way that he fell, and it looked funky. But yeah, I hated that, and we all knew Roman was going to win.
Oh, we did. And honestly, I'll even go to this. They could have just brought the Usos out and just had them all waste on him, make it a 3-on-1 beatdown. That would have made more sense than actually. It would have stayed in line with what has been happening overall.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, that to that point, he could have gotten injured on that. That was a very dangerous, unnecessary spot that they took. That I have no idea why they thought that was going to be the best case to save face for the Demon character for Roman to go over. I don't know why they chose that was the best course of action to go forward with.
And that was the same turnbuckle that a couple matches before Sheamus was doing his Jeff Hardy. So Sheamus weighing an extra 100 pounds, it didn't break then.
Yeah, but it does for Finn. I mean, even at that point, even if Sheamus did something to the top rope where it would push it down, they would have fixed it by the time they had that match all around. So I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like they were trying too hard to make it. They tried too hard to save face on the Demon character and ended up costing them more than they wanted it to.
And then we'll just go backwards then the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Bianca against Becky. I thought it was a great match. I really did. But then it ends at Extreme Rules in a disqualification because Sasha shows up.
Yeah, I was hoping they wouldn't do the Sasha spot.
Words
I don't know
tonight.
I could. Yeah, it's just terrible. The Sasha spot during the match, I thought they'd let him finish clean, but I guess that will extend the rivalry out. And now I think it's a triple threat at the Saudi show.
Yep.
I believe I saw at one point. So I guess it'll be interesting to see how that goes, especially with probably the results of the draft, which we'll cover later on, probably a little bit here. And just how things play out. I'm glad Sasha's back, I guess, but at the same time, couldn't we have waited till the end of the match for it to happen?
Yeah.
But it was a solid match overall. I enjoyed it.
That return from Sasha was one that I was surprised with. I didn't see her coming back at Extreme Rules. I really didn't. I thought maybe on the draft or maybe even at the Saudi show giving Bianca one more match or something to get a huge pop. I don't know if it got a pop like they wanted. I mean, everybody was happy Sasha was back, but it was just like, oh shit, Sasha's here. There was no play up to it that we had an idea that Sasha was coming back at Extreme Rules, especially since essentially it's one of their throwaway pay-per-views.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they were trying to, I think they were trying to replicate the, Sasha surprise return aspect of it, which is fine, but at the same time, it was too close to her last one.
Yep.
So I don't think it was going to get the kind of reaction they were hoping for with it.
Agreed.
To your point.
Agreed.
So.
Then going back, it is the U.S. title match, and these were all, everything prior to this and this were solid matches. I was like, holy shit, they're doing something good with this Extreme Rules. And I was all right with all the outcomes. We got them all right, Jenks. I'll just tell you that we're perfect on all of them. Overall, though, Hardy, Sheamus, and Priest, we've seen Priest and Sheamus for the last month and a half. You just threw Hardy in to do some extra flips and bumps and stuff. But it was good. It was good. I thought maybe at one point that I'm like, wow, Priest is going to lose us already. But he wins with a roll-up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I was hoping for a more definitive end on that. But I guess rolling up Sheamus, that's a way to win this. One of the more basic ways to win the match for it. Yeah, Hardy was in there, I think, just to spice it up a little bit more so we didn't get Sheamus versus Damian another time. But
we do.
Well, you do. We do get it another time, but I guess they're trying to put it off as long as possible. But I was kind of hoping, I get Jeff being in there, but maybe throw Drew in here and let him do some damage as well. Make it a fatal four-way at that point. This match beforehand didn't really get me hyped as much as some of the other matches that were on the card. And the match itself, I thought, pretty straightforward for the most part and what I expected it to turn out to be. So
yeah, essentially, yeah. Now as we talk about this, I'm getting more and more depressed about it, but I don't know.
I didn't mean to do that.
No, watching it Sunday night though, I was like, oh my god, this is actually good. The Raw Women's Championship match. Wow, we were essentially wrong because we all knew Flair was going to win, but we thought something funny was going to happen, and nothing funny happened. We just get hopefully the demise of Alexa, as we've read throughout the week now.
Yeah, it sounded like that, and I guess it makes sense that, rip up Lily, leave her lying in the middle of the ring, but so I guess where does Alexa come back? Does she come back as a goddess or what? I think she's taking time off for surgery, so it'll be interesting to see. But again, this was no surprise. We figured Charlotte was going to pull this out. I was hoping. It was no surprise to me that Charlotte wins again. I have my own thoughts about Charlotte overall, but this was a pretty definitive statement as a go home that Alexa might be done with this whole Lily gimmick at this point.
Yeah, and I'm all right with it, as we said, for the last couple of weeks, because it just, to me, it doesn't fit without Bray.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if there's going to be that Bray payoff, then I think it would have been fine to keep going, but there's never going to be that payoff for it. So.
No, and while were we wrong on Bray, but we'll get there.
Yeah, right, we were.
SmackDown tag titles. This was, whatever. At least I was excited that the WWE did one thing. They continued to sell the injury that Ford had from Friday night, because normally after he gets put through tables, this, that, and the other thing, he's fine in 2 days. They at least had him taped up. So I'm like, all right, they kept with the tape up that he's fine, that he's hurt and everything, and it worked into the match. And again, we knew the Usos were going to retain.
Yeah, there was no way they were going to take the bloodline out of the title picture unless they decided to have a dissension or something with them. So it was a fine match. I agree. I like that they kept up with the storytelling there. Montez is injured in that, but straightforward. We kind of figured the result of it, and there's not much going on after that. So,
and the added match that we didn't know, all of New Day takes on AJ, Lashley, and Omos, and I was shocked that Lashley took the pin.
Yeah, I think this is setting up for finally saying Big E is done with, or has overcome Lashley in that aspect. I think we'll see Lashley shifting brands. I think you predicted that last week here, and I think this and what happened the following night on Raw kind of set the stage for that to happen. Of Lashley just putting over Big E at the end of it.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. But again, on Monday we have some talk about what goes on Monday as well. Liv against Mello was the pre-show match, and this is what I want to talk about. Jenks, did you watch the pre-show match? Please tell me you did.
I did.
Okay. What language did you listen to?
I was very confused because it switched. I thought didn't it switch to Spanish at some point? Because I know the language changed on me, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Did I hit something wrong, or
I did the same thing. I went out and went back in thinking, what did I do? I'm an idiot.
I thought the same thing because I remember turning it on, but I did it fast, so I didn't know if I hit a different language or something on it. But I think WWE is just trying to keep people on their toes and teach them take a Rosetta Stone approach to how people take in wrestling now.
Yeah. So I got on the old Twitter then, and it wasn't just Spanish. There was Spanish, French, and like people were having like multi-languages at the same time just in there. You would hear Michael Cole for a second, and then you would hear Funaki, or then you would hear, and I'm like, I thought I was having a mental breakdown in this match. I'm like, are my autograph pictures talking to me? Shinsei is right over there. I don't know. What the hell is going on?
Just hearing voices in your head like Randy Orton. Apparently, that's where my head went. This is the second. Peacock has just been on a run.
Yeah.
Late this year with this, earlier this year where it just completely stopped in the middle of the show, Money in the Bank, and now the different languages. I can't wait to see what they come up with for the Christmas show in December, because it seems like every quarter they have an issue with it.
Yeah. And that took away from the match because I don't know what the hell happened during the match. I really don't. It could have been a great match. It might not have been. I think that's why actually we get it somewhat again on Friday night, because they effed up, and they effed up bad, because I'm sure a lot of other people were in and out trying to figure out why the hell Spanish, French, Japanese, Chinese, dirty knees, whatever the hell was going on. Nobody knew. So they didn't probably get the views because... why? What the hell? So, yeah. Overall, though, Jenks, we rank everything out of a 6-pack.
Yeah,
I'll give it a solid 4. The wrestling was good. I liked everything except the last 2 matches because of the hokiness that they tried. If they wouldn't have tried for the hokiness, I think it would have got maybe a better, rating from me. It wasn't horrible, so I can't say it was a 1 or a 2. Predictable. So I just went, all right, I'm going to be entertained and watch the wrestling aspect of WWE tonight. And, a 4.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I was leaning 3-4 pack on this one. So I'll say 4. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because it was an entertaining show overall. Just the ending just hurts so bad. I think that's just it. Puts a bad taste in my mouth, especially with the Demon character in that. But I'll give it a 4 too. Yeah, I agree.
They did make the announcement during Extreme Rules that Bobby and Big E are going to fight. So that, as we shift gears to Raw, starts the show. We're going to have Big E defending the heavyweight championship against Bobby. And wow, I was impressed. One, how long they let this happen before I thought, wow, we're actually going to get a real match. Commercial break, everything. And I'm like, this is good. This is really good. This is going to be finally the end-all, tell-all of this feud. And then we get the hokiness again. That the Hurt Business is back, I guess. And New Day comes out. But it took so long to get there. Why not do that in like 5-6 minutes? It was 20 before this happened. So you thought you were going to get a real match. And then that pisses me off.
Yeah, I get that. I think they wanted to give people the belief that, hey, we're going to let this end cleanly. And that the reuniting of the Hurt Business came out of nowhere. Now, I'm not going to say I appreciated the Hurt Business when they were together. So, but why bring it together out of nowhere is my question. I don't understand what the purpose of that is. Is it because Lashley's done with the title, so now we're going to he needs something to do? Is that what the game plan is? Or are they gearing up to do a shift where if they're going to take on the bloodline over on SmackDown, which I assume is going to happen? I don't think the Usos got drafted. I can't remember. But I feel like Lashley is going to make that jump with the Hurt Business, and there's going to be a war, and that's why they did it. So I'll be interested to see, though.
I agree with you on all of that. Is it because Bobby... I don't know if Bobby is the strongest talker, where Cedric is a good talker. Is it because MVP is on the shelf for a while legitimately with a knee injury, so he had surgery? So does Bobby need somebody to be with him all the time? Can't he be a one-man wrecking crew? I don't think they've ever given Bobby his own limelight, and they're still not going to by bringing back the Hurt Business.
I agree with that. Lashley this past year has gotten better for me, and I've appreciated him more in the ring, and his talking ability has gotten better in my view. Now, he's not the greatest talker, and he's not top 10 talker of all time, or maybe top 30, but I think he's gotten better, and just having the dominating performance and going over like that, I just feel like the Hurt Business kind of takes away from him a little bit. Let him run a little bit on his own. Yeah, he's not the strongest talker, but let him run a little bit. I think he could hold his own. You don't have to talk that much if you can dominate people and beat people up. So we'll see how it goes. But, I mean, the Hurt Business is together again, and I guess that's what we have to deal with now. But I just wanted him to get a little bit of a chance on his own. Make it worthwhile.
I'm excited to see what happens Monday. We can just start throwing everything together now. And we'll talk about the draft here after we throw the rest of the matches out that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
At the end of the show, we do get Big E and Lashley in a cage. And Jenks, I thought, again, as I said for 2 weeks, Big E looks weak right now against Lashley. They continued making him look weak as the underdog champion against somebody that big. But I think the way they ended the match was perfect. The way that he did, which was scary as hell. The big ending off the second rope, which could have annihilated either one of them if they didn't jump far enough.
Right.
I thought it was done good that was the essential, air quotes, big ending of this feud for a while. Even though everybody was out there again, it puts it to rest for a little bit, and Big E can now take on the next comer that comes out real quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Drew came out afterwards and issued that challenge. I think it was the best ending, and I agree with you. That was a very perfect ending to this feud for now. Yeah, they really put Lashley over on Big E here. I want to see them give Big E a little more dominance in matches or have a little bit more, because I don't consider him an underdog. And, I mean, not to the extent I think they're booking him as.
Right.
I think Big E could hold his own in a match against Lashley, or in this case, Drew McIntyre, so he doesn't have to be put in that underdog position. But that's just how they're booking him, I guess. So I'd like to see it be a little more even keel of a fight between them, him and Bobby, but it is what it is. But I did love that. That ending was a great send off. And to your point, it was probably dangerous as hell if they didn't hit that right. But I think I've heard the big ending is almost like landing on a pillow anyways, if you listen to a variety of podcasts. So
yeah.
I'm sure it didn't hurt as much, but to your point, if they catch something wrong or catch the rope, it's ending disastrously. But yeah.
So, do you own any swords, Jenks?
You know, I don't. I have knives, but not swords.
Okay, because I was going to say, if you owned a sword, all you have to do is point at a champion and your number one contender. So, I would, go to an event, you, Moochie, and Cody, and I hope I would get invited as well. And we could all, bring swords and point at whatever champion, because that makes you the number one contender then. So Drew's the number one contender for just pointing a sword at Big E now.
I mean, if anything short, if you don't have a gun or a Glock, as Arn Anderson would put it, if you don't have that to defend yourself, I would probably be giving the championship match to the guy with the sword at that point. But, we should have known Drew was going to come out.
Right.
and challenge Big E at some point because he couldn't challenge Lashley, and now he's able to step into that realm. But yeah, then strange men pointing swords at people getting championship shots. Who'd have thought in 2021 that'd be the case?
Right. The rest of Raw was absolute hot garbage for me. Ricochet is now essentially, and I've never been a Ricochet fan because I think he is the flippiest person out there, that he's got to do 17 somersaults to get to a headlock, and no disrespect of his athletic ability, but I just can't. So he's now relegated to the 24/7 championship, which, man, you need repackaged or something. And then we get a repackaged, which isn't really repackaged. He just gets a nickname, Bearcat, Keith Lee. What else did you take from Raw, Jenks? Because otherwise I'm just going to shit on all of it.
Well, the Bearcat one I was pissed about when I saw. And I guess there's history around it. There was a wrestler that was named Bearcat at one point that Keith Lee took the name from, or was given the name from. So I guess that makes sense, or at least that's how WWE is presenting it, which is fine. But I hate that name on Keith Lee. He's Keith Lee. I don't understand why he's just not doing more. He's a phenomenal talent, but to be honest with you, I'm kind of in the same boat on Raw. It was what it was. I did appreciate Shayna being brutally attacking another person now.
Yes.
This time, Eva Marie. I'll see if she's going to be out for a while.
Ever, hopefully.
Running that. Yeah, right. But yeah, I like that Shayna Baszler's now back to being the killer that she used to be. So I'm kind of excited to see that develop. But yeah, Raw overall, not that great.
No, not at all. So we will shift over to SmackDown then. And because SmackDown as well, the matches itself weren't that great to me. So let's talk about those first. With no returns or anything like that, because we'll get to that, people who pop in and pop out. But matches, Jenks, essentially our first match is KO against Happy Corbin. And we didn't talk about this. A couple weeks ago, we brought up how we love the down and out Corbin and how miserable he is. And then just that quick, I know you're in Vegas for that pay-per-view, he wins everything. Yep. Why can't he be down and out and have to be a scum-sucking bastard for a while? Getting wins as a scum-sucking bastard that just having money makes him win. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And they can't convince me he won that much to be spending it. Maybe they want to play that game they're obviously playing that game with it, but I agree. Why can't he just be down in the dumps? You know, he just wanted a little bit of money, maybe build it up over time that he's getting more and more money. They could even did it with a long game of he plays the racing tracks or something along those lines, you know, takes a little bit of money, puts it in, loses it. They did that for quite a few days there, where they had Corbin in Las Vegas, where he was building up his portfolio, then he lost it all, then he regained it, and then he lost it again, and then finally, I don't know where they're going with it. Also, I'm not sure I like the name Madcap Moss.
No.
Richard Moss here. I thought that was a little forced. And then he had a terrible joke, or he was just saying joke 5 times in a row. I don't know what that was about during their promo before this match, but I also don't like where they're billing KO right now and feeding KO to Happy Corbin here. I'm not sure I'm a fan of this.
Well, I think this is WWE saying they know they're not going to be able to re-sign KO. And you're just going to see KO taking a ton of losses before he becomes all elite, because all of his friends are over there. His contract is up. I thought I read a couple times it might be November, might be December.
Yeah.
You're going to see KO just being washed out of WWE and not get anything going. It's been happening for a while. I think there's just been a disconnect between KO and management of WWE for a while. He is the Daniel Bryan of now. You know, he made his due as an indie star, and they scooped him up they got for whatever they needed in the John Cena time with him and this, that, and the other thing. They don't know what to do with him. They have no clue what to do with him. So they're like, all right, we're going to bury him before his contract's over, and he's not going to get the big Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson to do when he gets to AEW. I will say you're wrong. People cannot wait to see Kevin Steen return as a son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, that was gonna be my exact point. They can bury him till the live long day, but as soon as Kevin Steen comes back out at All Elite, it's over. That roof is coming off the place.
Yeah.
Will it be as monumental as Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson's was? Maybe not, but the return of Kevin Steen to not only the Indies but other promotions in that, it's going to blow the roof off the place. He's an indie darling, and I think it plays into the narrative that has been portrayed over the past couple months here is Vince McMahon is going back to he needs to build his own stars. And he's getting rid of those people that came in as those independent workers that built the name for themselves on the independent scene. I think at one point Triple H was bringing in those guys to build up NXT and make it successful because it made sense, and it still does. But I think Vince has that need to build his own stars, and he's going to get rid of those people that were from the Indies beforehand.
Well,
We're just seeing this is an extension of that.
Let's start building some stars then, because name one star in the WWE locker room.
That Vince built, I couldn't right now.
Right.
Happy Corbin now, I think. No, just kidding. But
yeah.
I guess to that point, I would argue New Day, if you want to go off of Big E, I think that would be, he's not a star. He's starting to build his name, but that would be the lone person from that really had an indie background besides Roman.
Right.
That could be on the way up.
Yeah.
But we'd have to see how this all breaks out.
Brock's there. He kind of decimates the bloodline, which essentially makes Roman say, hey, you're going to Raw, because the Usos weren't eligible to be drafted on Friday night yet, because
Right.
I hate how the draft works sometimes. MLB and NFL have to take a better look at the way they do their draft. You know, some kids just should not be eligible to be drafted in the first round. Right?
Yeah.
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 I'm kidding.
Yeah, right.
I hate
That
it.
makes sense. That makes total sense. No offensive linemen.
Right, yeah. You cannot draft these guys.
Nothing against offensive linemen. I used to be one. But, I don't understand that you can only draft this 50% of it. And then we're only going to show about 16 picks of it or something like that. And we'll have the rest on our internet show the next day or something like that, because that did happen.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was shocked that Sasha got, I don't want to say it was a clean victory over Bianca, but I was shocked that Sasha got the victory over Bianca leading up to them already announcing the match. I thought, well, this is just going to be, the three of them are going to tussle again. But Sasha gets the win.
Yeah, and I think it was way because Bianca had been drafted earlier that night to Raw. I think that was just the way of putting Sasha over and sending Belair to Raw, which, again, still surprising. We're still building up Bianca. I would have thought she would have beat Sasha, but maybe this was going to be the intended result of SummerSlam, and they just applied it to SmackDown because it couldn't happen there.
Touche, I like that.
So, yep.
And then finally, I just want to make the announcement that next week, and I'm excited for this if they do it right, the return of the King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown is going to happen. Thank you. I do think the King of the Ring and the Queen's Crown could be pay-per-views, though. I'll always push for that. I love tournament style once in a while. We'll see what they do with it.
I completely agree with you, Mark. This was great news for me. I've always been a fan of the King of the Ring, and I love that it's going to be a Queen's Crown, a Queen of the Ring type scenario. Although I feel like somehow Charlotte's going to win it again, or just win it.
Yep.
Yeah, because I don't see that not happening. But I'm excited for it to be back. I think they should do it right, and I agree with you. It should be its own pay-per-view event. Let them go for it. But I'll take it the way they're doing it. Maybe at some point they'll have finals. I'm not saying they'll have an actual pay-per-view, but maybe at I don't know what the October one is. well, I guess it's a Saudi show, so maybe they'll have the crowning at that match, at that pay-per-view, but we'll see what happens.
I think that whole card's already booked. I think they're gonna extend this until end of that or Survivor Series. Yeah, I would like when it was, hey, you know, me against you. What am I trying to say? To get into the King of the Ring, not the eliminator matches, but like the prelim matches.
Qualified.
Yeah,
like the qualifiers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me against you as a qualifier, boom, we're in, and then that night they release the whole tournament, but we're clearly not going to get that. But let's talk about the draft. You got some of them right, kind of talking back and forth. We knew SmackDown was going to take Roman, but Roman's not leaving SmackDown. He's been a number one draft pick for 3 years.
Yeah.
You were right about Charlotte. You pinpointed it last week, and I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. No, boom, Charlotte's taking to SmackDown.
Yeah, and the alignment is happening with Charlotte being drafted to SmackDown. It seems like Becky's going to go to Raw. Edge moved to Raw, so that would make sense to carry Seth over to Raw to face Edge. So I think the alignment's here for them to make that alignment happen on Monday. I think it's Monday is the next night of this. So I honestly just had that gut feeling. I wasn't 100% on it, but I'm not too surprised about it. Also, the way it kind of broke out, I was kind of surprised they took Bianca and sent her to Raw, to be honest.
I was too.
That one shocked me a little bit. And again, breaking up the New Day again, which I guess that was the better Big E in the long run, but I thought keep them together. I thought that was going to be their best case, but maybe I'm crazy.
And then the other one I want to talk about that was on the show, Hit Row coming up from NXT to SmackDown. Do you think this is too early in their whole push? They've only been together for a couple months. I mean, I don't know if they're completely fully over in NXT. Is this just, hey, we need another faction on SmackDown?
I think it could be. I was surprised by the placement. I think they're all talented individuals.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Swerve. Excuse me. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that this was going to be the big NXT call-up per se. Besides Austin Theory, who went around 4. That one surprised me too, to be honest. But I think it's a little early for them. They can figure it out on their own, I guess. But there's entertainment value there, so it'll be interesting to see how they use Hit Row at this point. I almost said Top Dollar because I'm looking at the results while I'm talking, but he's a member of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll see. Austin Theory has been up and down, so it doesn't surprise me with the whole Gargano thing of the way kind of breaking up and everything that he gets pushed back up because he's a freaking giant. And, you know, the whole jokes aside that the English professor would bring up that Beth Phoenix brought up for months and months that he's so big and everything. I think it is good timing for him. And then on Talking Smack, they announced 95 other ones. Noteworthy ones. They're splitting up Retribution, which great. The Great 24/7 Championships and all of the crew of them stay on Raw. Alpha Academy switches over to Raw, and Zelina Vega goes to Raw. Doudrop goes to Raw. Apollo Crews and Commander Azir go to Raw. Morrison goes to Raw, or stays on Raw, essentially. I would imagine when Miz does come back, just because of his show, he'll stay on Raw. There's two that play big. Like, what's Bayley going to do when she comes back? Where's she going to be thrown? Because she's going to essentially be a free agent. Miz, too, since he's on Dancing with the Stars. So nobody going to Raw didn't surprise me at all. Them calling up Aaliyah to SmackDown? What?
That's not. That was a little surprising. Although, I mean, she's kind of made a name for herself in her own right, I guess, at NXT, but I would not have considered her a draftable prospect at this point. I guess they may see more in her than we've actually been exposed to yet. And now thinking about it, the show I went to in July in Cleveland for SmackDown, she was one of the dark matches on it. So I guess it doesn't surprise me too much.
Okay.
Thinking about this now, one name that I wouldn't be shocked that could come up as well is Odyssey Jones, because he was a dark match as well on that show.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. We'll keep an eye out for that from NXT.
What are some predictions for Monday? You kind of leaked one that you said, you expect Becky to head over to Raw. And I almost hope that they both lose their titles or something and not do the. I hate the title switch, saying here, since you're on Raw, you can have this title, and since you're on SmackDown, you can have this. I hate that. That just disregards any title for me. Then I mean, we know titles are props nowadays, but
right.
At least give us some kayfabe over it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mark, I think that's going to be the case. Is when Becky goes to Raw, I think they'll do the title swap because really Becky's not defending for another 3 weeks, and the only person sitting on SmackDown would be Sasha. So unless Charlotte's defending tomorrow night against Bianca for the championship, I don't see how it's going to turn out well in that favor. But to avoid that, outside of that, I feel like it's going to be very straightforward. I would like to see if they move Shotzi and Knox to Raw now that they put the women's tag champions there. I think they can defend it on both shows still, but those two physical people would be to Raw if they ever lost the titles. But let's see if Shotzi and Knox move over to Raw. And I'm trying to figure out the NXT call-ups, but I don't know. I hinted the one with Odyssey Jones. I don't think they move up a Gargano, but I could be wrong. Or Ciampa. We'll have to see how that plays out. But I feel like there's going to be a couple surprises coming out of NXT at some point.
Okay. I like that. I was thinking Gargano was a definite coming up.
Yeah.
I really do. Ciampa, I don't know. The whole storyline that they left with baiting on Friday night of, the Usos weren't drafted. Paul has to go to Raw to make sure the Usos are drafted to SmackDown.
Yeah.
Do we get somewhat of a breakup, or is that just completely a tease? Because Brock has already said he's going to be there too, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think it's a tease. I think they're just teasing us at that point. I don't see them breaking up the bloodline, and I don't see Brock going somewhere outside of SmackDown. Although he did come up with Jeff Hardy and say he's a free agent, so I guess you could go wherever you wanted to at some point. But
Naomi got drafted to SmackDown. They keep families together, and I know.
Yeah.
So come on,
that's a valid point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's WWE in general. It was all right WWE, and I'm not going to say it was the worst. I've seen a lot worse. SmackDown was all about the draft because then there was other matches on there that you could tell it was not the A show for storylines and everything for SmackDown. It was, this is what Roman's doing, and then you get Mansoor and 9 other people against 9 other people. It didn't, there was no flow in the matches. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, no flow. It was a draft special. I think you're going to see the same thing on Monday. Although for 3 hours, that could be a little rough. So we're going to have to see how they kind of plan this out. I do want them to throw a couple title matches on there, surprise us a little bit, make us think somebody's losing a title and then move in or something along those lines. Love to see it, but I don't know if that's going to actually happen or not. Probably not, but I think that's where my head went to.
Mine too, hopefully. Maybe like IC title, US title. Maybe they both switch hands. They go to different shows or something like that. Yeah. Yes. Those are the 2 that I was thinking of. All right, Jenks. Let's take a break. Take 5 seconds to get a drink, do whatever, and then we'll come back and we'll do the week in AEW and then get prepared because I'm sure we can blow through AEW pretty quick too and get ready for Ask Can Crushers in segment 3.
I can't wait.
Wrestling. A love and a passion we all share. I've started a wrestling brand. the wrestling brand. A brand founded on the aspects of wrestling. Two entities working together to create a product that connect emotionally for people everywhere. Collar and Elbow is the brand. Passion and love for wrestling is the drive. I am Al Snow, and this is Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand.
It's Miss Reality, Maddie Runkowski, and you are listening to the Can Crushers Wrestling Podcast. I mean, it's not as real as me, but you could listen to my episode.
And you just heard from Al Snow at Collar and Elbow. Guys, switching it up a little bit, yes, we do have a promo code. It's Can Crushers, all one word, capital C in Can, capital C in Crushers. You save 10% at Collar and Elbow to buy all the great merch there. So, and how about that little tease about Miss Reality and Maddie Runkowski? She'll be on the show Wednesday night in her spotlight. It's already in the hopper. It's getting ready to be released. You've seen her on AEW. There's a lot of great stuff happening on the Spotlight show this week, and she really gives me a reality check, Jenks. Let me tell you, she's something, and I'll just leave it at that.
I can't wait to listen to that. That should be good.
So, AEW Dynamite, Jenks, this was a great show. Rampage, not so much for me, but we'll just go ahead.
I was going to say Rampage was what I expected it to be for the most part. It didn't really surprise me any. There's no shockers or nothing too crazy going on.
No, it was, to me, it was actually a dud. Just outright a dud. I didn't, nah.
I wasn't invested fully in it. I guess I did like the touch that they did kind of do the Dark Order and we'll just go to Rampage, I guess. But they did the Dark Order and basically to run interference, and Best Friends run interference, so the HFO didn't get in that ring and shave Orange Cassidy's head before the end of the night, I guess. But overall, a dud for me too. Nothing too crazy going on.
I did like the Danielson-Nick Jackson match. I love seeing Brian of ROH in Indies because you saw a lot more technique, submission stuff from him.
Mm-hmm.
The kicks and the yes and all that have gone to the wayside for him. He's legit the American Dragon again. It was, and I don't know if you don't know him, if you've watched wrestling, if you can get onto that train that I just said, you know who he is. You know his past. So you should know his real technique. This was his real technique. And I think Matt or Nick, was the perfect person to let him get his win on because it doesn't hurt Jackson that Bryan Danielson beat him. He's a tag team specialist in the first place. It's just somebody that he's comfortable with, and he got to show moves to people that I can't even believe I'm going to say this, that don't know who he is. You know, are there people out there in the world that don't know who Bryan Danielson is, first of all, Jenks?
I think there are. I think there's only those people out there that know him from WWE, which is a damn shame because they're missing out on essentially greatness because the American Dragon is just phenomenal, which is surprising to me. You'd think they'd check out his stuff, but there's those WWE diehards that only know that product and that's all they want to know in professional wrestling. So unfortunately, they don't know the good things.
They don't know shit.
Out there. They don't know shit. Can I tell you how happy I was to see he won by the cattle mutilation?
Right.
I thought that was fantastic. Like, he's going to win by the label lock, and then he wins by mutilation. I'm like, oh, thank you. That is great.
Yeah. That was probably the best thing for me on Rampage. We did get Evans getting his head shaved, which turned hokey, and then Jade, I knew, I'll put it this way, I don't know if you did, that they're gonna run Jade undefeated for a while.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it makes sense. I mean, she's a physical specimen in her own right. But the match itself, the no DQ match, didn't really hit for me.
No.
Nice spot by Thunder Rosa power bombing Nyla through the table. But yeah, it didn't really hit for me.
No. Dynamite, though.
Yeah.
You made reference to it, and we'll get there. I loved that they started with Britt Baker's best friend against Britt Baker's boyfriend, Adam Cole and Jungle Boy. I need more of this. More
Oh my
of this
God.
match was fucking phenomenal.
It was great. The low below at the end, I'm not going to lie, I got invested and I got pissed about, but it was because it was a good piss, because I was like, God damn, that's how Cole's going to win. And it was a wrestling way to win. But this was just a fantastic showing. And it's showing once again that Jungle Boy is one of those foundations for AEW going forward. He's a greater talent than tag team specialist. And it just shows off again Adam Cole's range and how good he is being that cocky, arrogant guy to win the match. It was fit. It was a great match.
Remember this match, because stuff is going to come back to this. And it's, I'm not saying Adam Cole and Jungle Boy fighting for the championship, but I am saying at some point this is going to be referenced again, that Adam Cole had to cheat to beat Jungle Boy in their very first meeting on AEW.
Completely agree, and I think it's going to kick off, maybe not soon, but maybe later rather than sooner, to flip an expression on its head. I think at some point, you're right, it's going to come back, and there's going to be a pay-per-view match that centers around this victory.
Yep.
It might not happen later this year, it might be early next year, but it's going to come back when they start that big push for Jungle Boy.
Agreed. I was questioning why they were giving us Dante Martin and Matt Sydal against Lee Johnson and Cody. And then at the end, this made wrestling news. Of course, it made wrestling news the whole week. This was the meme of the week. This was everything because, cool, Cody and Lee Johnson get the win. But there was issues from the very beginning from Coach Anderson. And then, Jenks, I want you to shoot it up and tell me what you thought of this.
Great pun. This was Art the Enforcer that I used to grow up and love watching back in my life. The Glock. How do you castrate somebody on live TV one-on-one? That's what this was, because he just basically said Cody's not a man.
Yep.
And
he shot him in the head.
And he shot him in the head. He's not a man, so he's going to shoot him in the head. Arn Anderson will pull out that Glock, and he's more of a man than Cody Rhodes ever was. And basically, the Nightmare family is now breaking apart, essentially, by this. I just couldn't believe he did that. I guess I wasn't expecting that type of promo from Arn Anderson, and maybe I just didn't see the cracks really coming to the forefront because of Malachi Black. But what a way to not only sell the breakup of the Nightmare family, but almost elevate Malachi Black even further, because he's going to be the one that causes it.
It did. We made reference to this for a year or 2 years now on the show. Everybody that's been on, that the Rhodes and the Andersons hate each other. So Cody bringing in Arn as his coach was like, what? How? Okay, maybe they put their differences aside, this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
And then we forgot that, okay, they're going to run with this. They're going to be friends. Nope. It was a slow burn build. But when they hit the climax, and I don't even know if that is the climax of Arn shooting Cody in the head. But it is. And to your point, and I didn't even think of that, it makes Malachi look like this son of a bitch that is going to rip families apart.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's long-term storytelling, Mark. Because if you think about it, there's been some matches in the past where Cody and Arn have gone head-to-head on the outside, which is traditional if you think about it in terms of being his coach and your star player, I guess. But I think it showed the Malachi Black thing has really accentuated the cracks in the foundation of the Nightmare family and has just blown them out of the water. And I'll be interested to see how the Nightmare family starts splitting apart more and more. I mean, that's probably, you can play it back to, that's why QT Marshall started the factory at that point, because he was tired of some of the things in the Nightmare family. How is this going to go forward and break and splinter this family apart? We already see it once with Lee Johnson moving with Arn essentially here.
Can you
I'm
can
gonna
you
be
name more
fascinated.
can you name more members of the Nightmare family though? It's almost
Not
like
off top,
yeah.
yeah, not off the top of my head. But I think that also plays into it a little bit more. Let's play into that one, Mark. I mean, you can't name anybody on the Nightmare family besides maybe Lee Johnson and Cody Rhodes. Maybe that's what Arn's getting at. You're making this all about you, Cody,
Yep.
and you're really just being a diva about it at this point. Because let's also play into it. He's got a new reality show starting up.
Exactly. And then he's on the big show as well.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. He's not on Paul White. He's on
He's on the Go Big show.
Yeah.
And that's why you saw Rosario Dawson jump Malachi.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the bigger thing here and it goes back to, I think, your point of the Andersons and the Rhodes families hate each other. I think they started with a mutual respect for each other when Arn started coaching them, and now the hatred's coming back to the forefront because it's more about him. It's more about him being a big star and putting his name and his brand out there. And you have the Andersons who are more blue collar, more down and dirty, fighting in the depths. So I think that's where it's coming up at.
Yeah.
And that's not to say Dusty wasn't blue collar, the son of a plumber, hard times promo and all that stuff. But it might be that Cody has lost his way or forgotten where his father came from because he didn't have to come from that life,
And
that hard times life.
And where's his brother been for a while?
Yeah, exactly.
So, next match, as we blow through these quickly, 16-man match. Oh, the trios match of Mox, Kingston, and Darby just crushing Anthony Green and Bear Country.
Bear Country, yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing really to note there. I think this was more of a tribute for Brody Lee. As we know, Eddie and him were very close at one point in time. So,
and that essentially rolled into the next match, the 16-man match of the Hardy Family Party and everybody in the Dark Order. Dark Order wins, and we see Jenks, at no disrespect, I didn't want his wife to be the one to bring them back together. I didn't want it to be negative. I wanted it to be a wrestling story. I didn't want it to be a heartfelt, and I'm showing how much of a bastard I am, a heartfelt, real story. I wanted it to be, as we said, Bray or Rowan or Strowman or somebody like that. And I said I was going to be pissed last week. It was -1.
yeah,
And it was.
I knew you were. I knew it was bugging you all week, and I purposely waited till the podcast to bring it up. Yeah, I was hoping but now I'm thinking about it, and this is what happens with my mind because it just turns on for some reason when people say things. Okay, yeah, it was a -1. Brody's wife, they brought the Dark Order together. Is it a one night only thing? Well, I guess 2 nights if you include Rampage. Do they start fighting again next week? Did they only come together for that sole purpose? Because if that's the case, there's a lot going on at this, which is now the anniversary show next week, coming up here for Dynamite this week. Is there something else going to happen this week that we don't know about?
I hope so.
And maybe it was just the one night the family brings them together, but there's going to be more to this as we go forward, and the anniversary show is going to bring that forward. So I hope so too, but I knew you were just not happy about
Not at all.
-1 leading them to victory. Although I will say I popped when he threw the papers at
I did.
Evil Uno. That was great. I thought that was funny. Yeah, I mean, it was a beautiful tribute, I think, at that point too.
It
Let's be
was.
honest. Yeah.
I'll throw myself under the bus for being a bastard for that. But I mean, I think it was right because it was in Rochester. This was supposed to happen about 18 months ago and all of that. But right, Mark just has to step back and say, hey, there is more than wrestling. That there's family. And this might have helped, the Huber family say, all right, we may be able to move on now. So before I get a lot of hate, that's not what I meant. Or is Leo Rush the one leading the Dark Order now? Because apparently he's back in AEW.
Yeah.
Boy,
that
oh
would
boy.
That would be a strange combination if that's the case. But yeah, I wasn't too excited about Leo Rush joining the AEW. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Not at all. I was pissed when he was a surprise at the Joker card. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenks, who's got the tightest tits in the game?
Apparently it's Anna Jay because she won by sleeper hold.
No, it's Ethan Page.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
He's the one that says, wow, I didn't even think you were going to bring it to a woman. I thought...
I totally forgot about the whole Ethan Page tightest tits thing. That threw me off. Sorry.
Right.
And I apologize. I'm not really like that. But, God, yeah, I forgot about that page. Now I just remember that promo. The tightest tits in the game.
Yeah. What the hell, Page? And he's a great talker. I love him. I've always loved him as in Impact, part of the North and stuff like that. But then you throw this out. I'm like, what are you saying? But
I think that still speaks to that there's still that goofiness to him that he wants to keep a part of his character. He had a passionate promo, but I think we could have did without the tightest tits in the game.
Yeah. To your point, Anna Jay and Ty Conte get the win over Bunny and Penelope. I'm saving the next thing until last because I know you have some stuff to say on it.
Yeah.
Jenks, we were right, though. We were right. Sammy wins. And I think it's the right thing to do. For so many, we keep saying long-term story. I think it does a lot for the Inner Circle that he's the only champion right now. He beat the Beast of Miro. He's going to celebrate. He's going to get on his high horse a little bit. I don't want to say the Inner Circle is going to break up anytime soon, but we could get that Jericho-Sammy match that I've been wanting.
Yeah, I think we will at some point. I guess they said that Jericho's out for a little bit of time. I think that's what they were trying to build up from that hit or whatever. At least that's what they were portraying. I don't know. Is it Sammy versus Jericho at Full Gear? What are we looking at for the long-term future here? I feel like Miro's going to get back in the hunt at some point.
I do too.
I don't know if I don't feel like Sammy's a transitional champion here. I do not feel that way because this is a big monumental moment to beat Miro at his own game. Not as his own game, but just beat Miro in its own right, the undefeated Miro. But I guess now the question is it Jericho that dethrones Sammy, or who's going to be the one that takes on Sammy next?
Right.
That's the other question I have.
I see El Fuego getting into the mix because he took his title that he was going for, the pander on that storyline for a little bit. Or you could bring some of the, I'm going to say, lighter weight guys back into the picture to the TNT Championship. Maybe Sammy Darby have a run, but I don't know if it's going to go there because what we're going to talk about next is going to happen. But you could get some of the little, and I don't mean it disrespectful, some of the littler guys, to make the TNT Championship a speed title again compared to Power. There's so many ways it can go. There really is.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if Fuego is going to be the guy because I still think he only has one win out of like 4,900.
Right. Maybe Sammy's being nice, I'm saying.
Sammy could give him a shot, or there could be a Fuego turning on Sammy at some point. I could see them doing that. Wouldn't excite the world for me.
No.
I think to your point, I could see it becoming a speedster title, more of a fast-paced championship. Not saying it's going to be all flips and gimmicks and that, but I think it'd be more for the faster pace matches, which would be a nice little break and change in pace for that title, I think.
Yeah.
And I guess now my question is, where does Miro go from here? Who does he start fighting? It's going to be the next one because I don't feel like they'll put Miro on the shelf for too long. And so I want to see what would be his next fight.
I want to see a real big man match. Maybe something with Brian Cage or something with Archer, or they don't need to be fighting over a title. They can fight over a pixie stick or something. Yeah, but I want a brutal. I don't want to say bloodbath, but a brutal match between Miro and somebody.
Yeah, I agree with that. It needs to be a heavy hitting contest, similar to what we saw with him and Eddie at All In. Or All Out. I want to see where Miro goes from here, and I think he's going to get a lot of feeder wins here to build himself back up I don't think he's fallen too far with the loss to Sammy, but I think they'll give him a couple feeder wins over the next couple weeks here just to build up that aurora around him again, and get him back into a more dominant view of the fans, basically.
Agreed. Maybe we get to see some Wardlow as well being fed to him, which I hate to say it that way, because I think now we're at the precipice that Wardlow needs to do something. He's literally just being like my transition, by the way. He's literally just being MJF's bitch again, and he needs to make his dominance known.
Yeah, but I will say, to their benefit, they are booking Wardlow to act like he's very unresponsive or disliking of the way MJF's approaching things. If you notice some of his facial reactions when MJF speaks, I think at some point that will happen. Wardlow's going to break out on his own. Don't know when, and maybe it's going to be after this Darby Allin feud that seems to be coming up here very quickly. Maybe this plays into it. Maybe MJF steps over the line one too many times, and Wardlow walks away.
Well, that's a great point, because you led me without. We did not talk about this all week because I knew this was going to be a big topic for us. MJF says there's 4 pillars of AEW: Jungle Boy, Sammy, he mumbles Darby, and himself, of all being there from day one.
Right.
Wardlow has also been there from day one. He's a young buck. He is the heavy hitter. You know, all these other guys, Jungle Boy's, kind of like high flying. They've made him tag team specialist, but he's breaking out of that. Sammy's always been the number 2 star, I would think. MJF has been the star, and Darby has been the crash test dummy of willing to do anything. All of them are stars. I don't care what anybody says. All of them are 1A, 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 1A. He just saying that is going to piss off Wardlow, I think, in the long haul, of saying, don't forget about me. I'm the center pillar since I'm the main guy. This is going to lead to that crack again. Same thing with you said about the facial features. I think this is slowly getting to Wardlow and MJF having their freaking blowout that we want, and Wardlow getting recognized as a freaking beast in AEW.
Yeah, I buy that wholeheartedly. I guess the question is, when does it happen? Is it going to happen sooner rather than later? Because I feel like this MJF Darby thing is going to be
a while.
Full gear.
Yeah,
it's going to be a while. It's going to take off the full gear. Wardlow, maybe the beginning of the year, maybe coming up. I think Revolution would be the next pay-per-view after Full Gear, which that's in February. So it could be brewing for a little bit of time here.
And I'm all right with that.
Eventually happen. Yeah, I agree.
You could get a couple matches of MJF and Darby, and maybe the final one is that Wardlow has to help Darby, or not help Darby, help MJF, I mean, and then we've seen him hit MJF before or something, but he actually truly hits him, or, this is where I think this is leading to, my personal self. Darby can take losses to MJF and nothing is going to happen to him. He is so over. He doesn't need anything.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it turns into the labors of, at some point, maybe there's a labors of Darby now, because they've done it a couple times with the labors for Cody, the labors for Jericho. Maybe Darby's going to have some labors here. And that's where we start seeing the real turning point for Darby to get to MJF. He puts Wardlow in an unsavory position that he doesn't want to be in. Not fighting Darby, but maybe it's an unsavory match like a no DQ or another cage match or something along that nature. Basically setting him up for failure so that Darby can get to MJF. I'm wondering if that's when the tipping point comes, because we could definitely see the labors come up at some point in this feud with Darby.
Oh, for sure. And then Darby says, hey, I have Bruce Pritchard's number on speed dial.
Yeah.
And then Punk was on during the whole commentary for Dynamite, and I like Punk saying, yeah, so's everybody else.
Yep, exactly. I love that too. That's not something to drop.
Yeah.
Drop.
Moochie might have his number. Who the hell cares?
Yeah. Who knows? Who cares? Everybody's got Bruce Pritchard's number because Bruce Pritchard just likes to be involved in everything, I guess. But I did like that Darby basically said to MJF, "You can't break me." And I don't know if MJF took it as I'll find a way to do it, or if MJF is like, I need to maybe physically kind of bully this guy around. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I thought that was a nice end to that promo between the two.
Yeah, it was. I took it that MJF feels that he has to physically break him because mentally he brought up, the car crash with his uncle and everything. So how can you break somebody mentally that's been through something like that? So he's got to physically go get his ball and chain and beat him down. So, yeah. All right, Jenks, that's AEW. We did WWE. NXT, neither one of us watched again, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, are we ready? Are you ready for your first ever Ask Can Crushers?
Let's do it.
All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back here in a second.
Yes, sir. This is B. Brian Blair asking you to turn into the Can Crushers podcast, or you're going to get stung.
Welcome back to Can Crushers podcast, and now the Ask Can Crushers segment of the podcast. I'm ready for this.
You are ready for this. You really are. So let me tell you guys that I got a ton of questions in, but some of them do not fit our podcast. So I'm gonna say this, and I've had these in before from Ask Can Crushers, and people said, "Why did my question make it?" I'm finally coming full circle and releasing it. I don't want the questions, who do you want to fuck, marry, and kill? I don't want the questions of, who's got bigger boob and stuff like that. Yeah. We do not do on this podcast. I hate those questions. Come on, guys, get better. These are wrestling questions. You can have silly questions because trust me, we do have a silly question coming up, and it's reference to one of my great friends in professional wrestling because we've been talking about the MLB postseason that's coming up. So he sent me a video, and this will get there. But our first question is actually from one of our call-in people. So, Jenks, I'm going to send it to the phone real quick, and then we'll come back and answer that one, all right?
All right.
Hey, this is Megan Nelson from Pittsburgh, and I am calling to ask if you guys will be at Super Indie. And if so, let's have a drink. Talk to you guys later. Keep up the great work. Love the show.
Jenks, that's a good friend, Megan Nelson from IWC. And Megan, no, we will not be coming to Super Indie. But it's not like we're not going to watch it because the English professor and I and the junkyard dickhead, Pat Lupino, are going to head to Celebfest 2 in Baltimore, Maryland. This is something that we've had planned for a while, but we will hook you up with a drink the next time that we're in Pittsburgh at the Carriage Inn. But guys, you can watch IWC Network on the IWC. You can watch IWC on the IWC Network. Super Indie 20. It's going to be amazing. Celebfest 2 will be over by the time Super Indie starts, so we will be watching it at Pat's house on the IWC Network from 2 to 1 Media. So that's that. Quick and easy. Sorry, Jenks, you didn't get to answer that because I'm sure I'm not being a dick. I knew you weren't coming to Celebfest with us or going to Super Indie. So
no, that's fair. That's a fair assumption. So
all right, here comes the questions. Hey, Mark and Jenks, love the new outline of the show. My question is, book the next 3 AEW champs, men's and women's. And this comes from Harold from Pine Grove. First off, Jenks, do you know where the hell Pine Grove is?
I do not.
I don't either. I don't know if this
Pine
is
Grove, PA.
I don't know if it is PA or not. Harold, I hope you tell us where you're from next time. There is a Pine Grove, PA, isn't there?
Yeah. I just looked it up. So if this is from PA, hello, and it looks like it is probably east side of the state.
Oh, that's why I don't know anything on the east side.
Yeah, well, it's more like East Center. So
East Center
by Hershey. So
okay, That's what we're
University.
saying. He might not even be from there, but we're saying Harold's from
Yeah.
Pine Grove, Pennsylvania.
Yep, we're gonna go with it.
All right, good. All right, so Jenks, why don't you go first? And let's do the men's first. So let's do the first. Who's taking the title from Omega?
I think it's Hangman Adam Page, and I don't know if he's going to be the Joker on Wednesday of the show, but I think it's Hangman Adam Page. I think that'll be the next. That's the one that takes it from Omega.
I agree with
in
that.
my eye.
I agree with that one. So we can move along. Who's taking it from Hangman?
This one's tough, and I think I might actually give it to possibly MJF. I think there could be a long run for Hangman here. I don't see a transitional champion, but I think MJF either will get it from Hangman or will be in the next 3. I think it's his time to step up and take the title for a run here.
I agree with that as well. The downfall is I can't see a lot of lengthy back-to-back championships. So as much as I'm not going to say it's as long as Omega's, but it's not going to be, 2-3 weeks and then MJF gets it. I would give,
Right.
and this is sad because we've all been wanting Hangman to have it for a while, but maybe 6 months.
I actually was thinking Revolution might be it. I know we talked about Wardlow maybe coming into that point and turning on MJF at that point. I think it could be Revolution. If we were going to fantasy book world champions, that's when Hangman loses the title to MJF, and they kick off 2022 in that manner.
Oh, so that's even less. All right, well, 6 months was my long booking, so all right. But not transitional as in like 1 to 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's where I'm thinking. I think he's going to have a decent run, but I think it's going to be about 4 months. I think that's what it works out math-wise to Revolution. So,
and then who takes it from, because we're both on the same board, who takes it from MJF? And this is where we both might get a little wonky.
Yeah, that so the long-term booking is difficult. I could see them giving it to a Bryan Danielson, but I could also see them putting it on a younger talent at that point. I think I'm forgetting somebody, but I'm going to go Bryan Danielson at this point. I think he does get a world title run at some point in the next coming years.
Well, mine is somebody that just came in too, and I think he gets one as well, and I think it's CM Punk.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. And I'm on the same page as you. I don't know, yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that would do a disservice to them to put the title on one of them, or take away from any of the talent or anything, because they're big name stars.
Right.
To cash in on them as your champion at some point, kind of like what they did for Chris Jericho. But I think they would be that gap filler from MJF getting his first run. He loses to a more legendary figure, and it could bridge that gap to a newer face taking the title and running at that point.
That I was going to say.
I don't know.
I was going to say whoever beats MJF is a transition. It is quick.
Yep. I think it puts people. I think you're going to end up with a dream match or one where people will clamor over, and it could just end up being Adam Cole at that point, but who knows?
Right.
It'll be interesting to see.
For the women, who's taking it off of Britt?
I knew you were going to ask me this, and I knew that in the last 5 minutes, and now I don't know. I was going to say Ruby. I feel like Ruby's going to get her title another shot at this. I'm going to go Ruby on this one. I think Ruby Soho right now is in the best position to take it off Britt, but I'm not saying it's anytime soon.
I'm going to say it's Thunder.
Okay.
First. We're both setting up for the same second match, I think.
Yeah, we are, because I was going to say Thunder for 2.
And I was going to say Ruby.
Thunder, Ruby.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I will go and I say Britt gets it back.
I'm going to go and say Jade gets it at that point, because I think they will sacrifice Thunder or Ruby to put Jade over.
Ugh.
I think it's going to.
I don't think she's ready. I don't think she's ready yet.
That's fine. I don't think Britt's losing it for another few months. And then I don't think Ruby or Thunder lose it for a few months after that. So I think you're 6 months out at the minimum. I think Jade's going to be undefeated. And I don't want to say she's going to be Goldberg-esque, but she's going to have an undefeated streak when she gets. I think they're going to give her the title at some point. And she's probably going to be undefeated when she gets it.
I hate undefeated streaks. I do.
I know.
I do.
I know.
All right. Harold from Pine Grove, wherever. Great question. I like that one.
Yeah, I like it too.
Jenks, this is my question to you. I brought one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I don't know if you brought one or not, but that's okay. We started off this whole Can Crushers thing, and one person asked us, one of the first Ask Can Crushers, if you could be a wrestler, who would you be? And I believe John said either Razor or somebody. I don't remember what anybody else said, but I picked Hillbilly Jim. Okay, and you could laugh and say why, because at one point he was main event status. He was Hulk Hogan's best friend. He wasn't in wrestling to get titles or everything, but he did some comic shtick. But then he had some real matches and everything. That's where I think I would be, because he loved the business and he didn't have to be the superstar. That's where I would want to be. I would be Hillbilly Jim, because he's just a down-home type of guy that loves the business. Where would you be?
I would think, and honestly, the parallels for me and so let's pull back the curtain a little bit. When I was younger, I did want to really become a professional wrestler at some point. Never happened. Things came up. Where I see the individual that I want to be would have been like now, my parallels draw to Kevin Owens, where he's a strong talent. He's very talented. He can support the show. Doesn't necessarily have to have the title, but he would be a great champion if he had it. But I feel like I'm more of a Kevin Steen or Kevin Owens type character, where you just have solid match after solid match. And the fans come to see you. Kind of a main event player, that upper tier mid card. I think that's where I would lie at.
Nice. I could see you there too. Yeah.
Yep.
You could turn the heel, or you could be the baby face once in a while. Well, not really. He's not really ever a baby face. He gets the sympathy. I'll put it that way.
You're the anti-hero.
Yeah.
Type of role. Yeah. Yeah. I just would need to find my Sami Zayn. And I don't know who that would be, but somebody would need to get powerbombed on an apron at some point.
Moochie.
Yeah. Maybe. That might be it too. We already fight like brothers, so.
Right. That was from me. This next one comes from Dwayne from Flint, Michigan. Dwayne, how are you? Thank you for sending in your question to Ask Can Crushers. First off, he says, "What's up, guys?" Not much. Just doing a podcast. You, Jenks, what's up?
Yeah, nothing. Living the dream. Floor laying and podcasting.
All right. He says, "I went back and listened to other Ask Can Crushers, and unless I missed it, you guys never did the Mount Rushmore of factions." I believe we may have, but shit, let's do it again. So, Jenks, first of all, do you know how many people are on Mount Rushmore? Because I ask this question to wrestlers once in a while, and they're not sure.
Last time I checked, there's 4.
Right. There are 4. You're right.
Well, you know what? Some people just get confused or just want to add like 12.
Yeah.
And then it happens.
So I'll go with you again first, since I'm reading the questions. What's your Mount Rushmore of factions?
So this is great timing on this conversation. I'm trying to remember our text message chain, because I was talking with my co-host on the 40-Year Dash. We had the question was brought up about New Day being in top factions or teams and that. And I didn't put them, I put them just in the top 5. I'll explain that later. But my top 4, if I had to go, the Horsemen, DX, NWO, and what's my 4th one? I'm actually going to go, you know what? No, I said New Day was 4. So that is my top factions. Because I think New Day has reached a point where even though they're still a recent team, they've been so successful in the industry, I'd have to put them in the top. In my 4.
3 of the 4 I will agree with. And the same one that you're pandering about, for sure. The Horsemen, DX,
Yep.
the first version of DX. I'll put it that way.
Yes.
The NWO before it started breaking up and going with having Virgil and everybody else into it. Yes.
Yeah.
And then I do have the old school one that after doing some more and more and more going back, it's the Von Erichs for me.
That's fair. That's fair.
And the Freebirds were there as well as New Day as well. So they're kind of like 5. The Freebirds and New Day to me are like 5. But the Von Erichs, what they did for professional wrestling and essentially what they had to overcome and still be that family unit that was running a business. So, yeah, that without a doubt. The other 3, do we really have to talk about why the Horsemen or DX or NWO need to be up there? No, we don't.
No. I think those are self-explanatory. I will say, so Mark, and this is an interesting question that kind of I posed to the team, because now that I thought about it, the 5th team that I had playing with New Day was the Shield, because I really liked the Shield and how they ran for a year and a half, but that wasn't the question. It was, where do you draw the line, or do you draw the line at what's a faction and what's a tag team? My example going off of that, because you brought up the Freebirds, was you had the Freebird rule where any one of them could defend the title on a given night, any pair of them.
Right.
Same thing with the New Day. Does that just make that team a tag team, or is it an overthinking aspect of it? Because I think you could draw the line between what's a tag team and what's a faction at some capacity.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I went just by numbers, essentially, when a tag team to me, like the Midnight Express, that's a tag team.
Right.
FTR, that, when there's only 2 members in that group, and I don't even know, like a group isn't, a group to me is 3, which essentially defines faction to me. So there are 3 members of New Day. They still might not be together now because they're split up again, but they're still, at times they'd come together. So same thing with the, what the hell do you call them? The Freebirds, one might have been going after a singles championship, but yes, they had the tag team. So the Von Erichs as well, because they fought 6-man, but they also weren't a tag team because a lot of them had their own solo feuds going on. A lot of it was with the Freebirds. Let's cut the chase. Yes, we understand that. Yeah. But, you had Kevin taking on somebody. You had them all taking on somebody, but when push comes to shove, they came back together. So, that's where I am.
Yeah, I agree with that take. And my thought is, New Day has moved more away from being a tag team faction to being a true faction in my mind, where one member is that strong, singles run competitor, the other 2 are the tag team specialists in it, which is what New Day became. But it just brought up that fascinating question to me in that chat that I had with my other 2 co-hosts on the 40-year dash was, is there a line to be drawn between tag teams? But you bring up a good thought about just the number of people within those teams.
Yeah. Cool. So, all right, Dwayne from Flint, Michigan, thanks again. This is a stupid question that you get, Jenks, and this is from Chad Miller from OVW. All right. Again, preface that we were talking about the MLB and what was going on. If you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself? He says he would.
I would say on a good day, I would. When I really want that fatty hot dog, but normal days I don't think I would.
The Harry Carey skit on Saturday Night Live, he sent that to me, and I'm like, oh, you're such an idiot. But
I appreciate it. I remember that skit. But I would say, if I'm feeling a good fatty dog, I'd eat it. I'd eat myself.
I'd have to have like the Chicago condiments on it. That's my favorite hot dog, a Chicago dog. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm a little tipsy and I've had too much Miller Lite or IPA or Maker's Mark, I don't care. Throw the chili and the onions on, just the generic, Pennsylvania hot dog. But delicacy-wise, to eat myself, I need to have a Chicago dog.
Yeah, and hot dogs overall, I mean, the Buck Nights that we've endured, God. It's a special occasion that I have hot dogs now.
It really
but
is.
Yeah.
You didn't have as much meat running through your hands than I did.
I know, but there was enough that it just made me question a lot of life decisions.
And I will get hate from parts unknown. I hate Smith's hot dogs to this day. Hate them.
I understand why you hate them. I still cannot eat any other hot dog but Smith's. But yeah, when you're cooking them, God, how many games a year?
A million.
A million games, way too many games. It'll wear you down. I get it.
Yeah. So thanks, Chad. You're a jackass.
Thanks for bringing back flashbacks.
Right? This next one comes from Russ from Clearfield, and I actually know Russ, so he's a good guy. Seen him at a couple events here and there. So Russ, thanks for chiming in. Do you think too many new faces to AEW will hurt them? Who do you push? When do you push them? And how can you keep all the talent happy? This is a great question.
It's a fantastic question. And I think what plays under that question is the WCW dilemma or the WCW scenario, because they did not this exactly, but they did bring in a lot of the older talent and they pushed them over the new stars instead of building those stars. We alluded to this a couple weeks ago. I think there's a line you draw with who you want to bring in, but you only bring in those that can help build and enhance your brand from the get-go. Especially since AEW is still in the infancy. I think at some point they know who their pillars are. I mean, they let MJF go out and say who the pillars were, even though I don't think they really look over scripts or promos or anything like that. But I believe they are doing it right, and they know who their stars of the future are, and they're not going to take away from the other talent. They won't let those older talent like Punk and Bryan Danielson take away from the talent that they're actually building to be the foundation for the future. I think that's the key distinction here. And I don't think I think there can be too many new established faces that you bring in that could hurt the brand. But overall, as long as you're still building up talent and only using those new talent coming in as a way to say, hey, it's drawing power at this point, they're not actually taking over a company, I think they'll be fine. I don't think they're doing it wrong right now.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly on that. I think WCW had the issue is as soon as, let's say, Bret Hart came in, he got the title. Boom. You're not going to say, and I just referenced, and you said the same thing, that at one point, Punk and or Danielson will get a title run. Yes. Is it going to be a meaningful title run, as in like Jericho's to start the business? No, I don't. I don't think Punk or Daniels will mean anything in the scheme of it. It is this, hey, they were a champion here. It's just a footnote at that time in the business to say, hey, we had a legend, a champion. And we just said this, that it's a transition that, oh my God, Punk got the title. How long is he going to keep it? This is it going to be another 499-day reign. No, it's not. But you also brought up they're selecting who they want. WCW brought in, again, it was Mr. Perfect at his end of his career. They brought in Virgil. They brought in every luchador. They brought in, the NWO was a faction of, I think, I'm really thinking like 60 people. Okay?
Yeah.
They were all outside talent that was brought in for that NWO. No disrespect. They're not bringing in Brian Myers. They're not going to bring in any of the... I know he's not cut, but say Drew Gulak when he gets cut, or they're not going to bring in people like that to try to build them up to say, hey, Drew Gulak was on, and he's not cut. I understand this, guys, but I'm just saying, like, he was on WWE, so we're bringing him over. No, Cody and the Young Bucks and Kenny and Khan are selecting people saying, holy shit, these people still have, something. Look at Malachi Black is getting a bigger push, okay?
Yeah.
But it's a mid-card push.
Yep.
Andrade, I hate to say this, really isn't doing much. He's there because, yes, he is a name. He's not getting a push. He's worried about the Death Triangle right now. So essentially, he's in a wash storyline. If it happens, great, it happens. But there are older people that are probably going to be leaving AEW sooner than later. And I mean like 2-3 years down the line. But Andrade is somebody that's old, but is going to get put up to the next level in a couple years. And it's just they continue to regurgitation is not the word that I want to say, but it just got stuck in my mouth.
Yeah.
It's just to continue to build, and it's building people. And that's where it all comes from. You're going to get your indie darlings. And one of them, and we have her on the show on Wednesday, is Maddie Rinkowski. She has 2 wins, I think, in AEW on Dark. She's talented, though. You're going to see her on the Dark and the Dark Evolution, and they're going to continue to build and get referenced there. And then maybe in a year or two, she's a player.
Yep.
It's all about feeding the system and building people. Right now, like you said, it's still a baby organization. I don't care what anybody says. 2.5 years. There's some people that aren't watching AEW because they don't understand what's going on. It's recognition. I don't think you're going to continue to get Randy Orton in 2 years or whatever to come over. I think this whole swapping is going to stop in time once they have true and tried and true faces built from AEW within.
Yeah, and it would have to be a monumental or someone that they thought had talent from WWE in those 2 years down the line. It would essentially have to be someone they thought could actually just elevate their brand from a name recognition standpoint, but not to the extent of taking a title shot away or taking titles away from anybody. That's the thing about what AEW is doing with the legends or these people that they're bringing in from WWE, is they're using them to enhance the product, not to steal the product away from what they're trying to do. They're using them to build the stars. We alluded it to when we said CM Punk or Bryan Danielson would get the title. I think it's going to essentially set up to help build a younger star to take that title going forward.
Yeah. Let me ask you right now, you could pluck one person from WWE, put them in AEW, and make them a champion right now. Who do you think it would be and not piss off the wrestling community?
If I'm looking at current roster right now, the only name big enough to do that with, well, no, you know what? I don't know if you go big enough to do that with, or you go, they're an indie darling and they would not be, IWC would not come after you. And that's where my dilemma is, because I could say if you want big enough star, I think Roman's the only one that could go in and just take the title off of Kenny right now and do that. If you want to say it from an indie aspect, I don't know, because I think you would have to do it. The smaller guys would have to work their way up to Kenny Omega's level.
Yep.
Because that's the thing. You have Kenny Omega high tier. Danielson, Punk are kind of floating around there right now. And Adam Page I think he's going to win the title off of Omega. So I think when he beats Omega, he reaches that top tier.
Agreed.
So I think you can only move Roman to take the title off of Omega if it's where it stands now.
I agree. All right, Russ from Clearfield, thank you. Local ones this time. Derek from Altoona. Derek goes to Imagine Wrestling a lot. I've had a few words with him as well, so thanks for chiming in. If you guys could build a faction, we did this one before, but mine have changed probably. If you could build a faction of 4 guys, 1 woman, and 1 advisor, who would your faction be and what would you call them?
Oh, man. And is this both companies? Or
This is, of course. When we're doing this, you can grab anybody you want. I'll go first if you want to think.
Yeah, give me a couple minutes to think about that, because that's a great question. Go ahead.
All right, my tag team, because I'm all high and almighty on them right now is Santana and Ortiz. Boom.
Okay.
I'm dragging them. That's my tag team. And you don't have to have a tag team, Jenks. So I always think in a faction there's still those two guys that are like Telly and Arn or that tag team. So I'm taking Santana and Ortiz. Talker, I'm taking MJF without a doubt. I mean, he is the hottest thing out there right now. My big man, because you always need a big man. And again, I said, if you go back and listen to it when I said it before, it's changed. I like Archer right now. I really do. I like Archer as the demonic guy that is just going to snap and even snap on his partners once in a while. Advisor. God, how can you not take Arn after he fucking pulled the Glock out this week? And as much as I want to say Britt doesn't fit this organization at all. You know, she's a solo faction. So I can't pull in Britt to this one. I'm going to take Tasha Steelz. And people are going to like, what? Yeah. I think Tasha Steelz fits in with these guys. They're kind of all except Archer. They're kind of loudmouths and do what you want type of deal thing. So, and I'm gonna be generic. I've always liked the name, the Impact Players. So, yeah.
All right. Oh man, I am. Okay, I'm writing this down because I was thinking about this while we were doing it. And my faction, and I haven't decided on a name yet, so this is going to be one-off. I think I'm looking at it from a pure wrestling standpoint, or like a, not technician, but I think it's a pure wrestling, things that I find like a beautiful ring technician type deal. And I'm a man that leans towards submission artists sometimes, and that really grappling wrestling. So if I'm looking for a lead, I'm looking at Danielson right now as my lead guy because he's talking pretty well in AEW right now. He's on the same level as the Elite right now. My tag team, I'm moving with FTR. I'm big on FTR, and I think they're one of the best tag teams going right now in all of professional wrestling. And then I'm plucking Deonna Purrazzo out of Impact as my woman because she again is another submission expert and is fantastic in the role, and I love her game right now. The Advisor, pure wrestling Advisor, I'm kind of thinking Arn Anderson right now. I would also say I could put Paul Heyman in there because Paul Heyman can talk, and he would talk the shit out of this faction to build them up. And maybe it's just as a simple name of pure wrestling or something along those lines. It's very basic, but it gets it to the point because this team is just artists in what they do in professional wrestling ring. I think that's where I sit right now.
I like it. Yeah. Complete technical. Yeah.
Complete technicians. So
that's Derek from Altoona. Thanks, Derek. God. This one I like. And it's from T Swizzle, who I have no clue who T Swizzle is, but he's a Can Crusher listener. T Swizzle, what?
Great name.
Yeah, T Swizzle. Who do you think had the best nickname in wrestling, and of course, who had the worst? So I kind of did some work on this, Jenks, because if you're going nickname, I don't think they mean like Macho Man Randy. That was his gimmick. So I think you're going to and I'll give you my worst one right now to kind of to help go with this. Kane, the Big Red Machine.
Yeah.
Like, cool. That was also the name of the Reds back in the day, you know? The Cincinnati Reds. Yeah. So that's my worst. What's your worst?
So we're not going to go like Baskin Booger at this point.
Well, no, because it's his gimmick. It's their secondary thing. The nickname.
Yeah, I get that. God. I'm going to lean Kane, too, because there really wasn't... Like, why was that his name? I loved that it kind of transitioned away from that a little bit when they went, the Demon Kane and all that stuff. But yeah, Big Red Machine was so generic, and it didn't really sell him at all. I gotta agree with the Kane one. I can't think of one that was worse than that, to
Right?
be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was terrible gimmick. Yeah.
How about your
Like
favorite nickname to a wrestler?
My favorite, I'm going to lean again in Technicians, and I love Bret the Hitman Hart. I thought that was beautifully named, sharpshooter. I think Hitman suited him well in his prime, pre-WCW days, because WCW messed him up a little bit, but
A little bit.
well, a lot of bit, yeah. But I like the Hitman nickname. I thought that was one of my favorite nicknames going forward.
I'm looking at this as entertainment, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say it maybe was one of my favorites, but it's off the top of my head that when he was doing it, he was doing it. Rob Van Dam, the whole effing show.
Effing show.
So
That's a solid one.
yeah. Because other ones, you know, I don't know. There's other ones that I was thinking about that, like Razor Ramon, the bad guy. But okay, I understand. It's not much better than the Big Red Machine, but I liked it better. So I don't know, because it really didn't do much.
He lived the lifestyle for that, I think, and it played into it a little bit more. Where the Big Red Machine is just he's red and he's big,
Right.
so he's a machine.
Tommy Dreamer, Innovator of Violence, that was cool.
That was cool. Yeah, there's a lot of them. The Enforcer, Arn Anderson, that's a good one. We keep going back to Arn Anderson, but he's pulling Glocks on people, so it makes
Right.
sense. But you know what? I'm stepping back here. Now that I'm thinking about it, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, where did that come from? I get it's American Dream and it's the flip side of that, but that kind of like, I don't see you as a nightmare persona, if you will. So I think that one plays a little bit into
Garbage
territory a little bit.
All right, T-Swizzle. There you go. Gabriel from Bentendorf, Iowa. Do you know where the hell that's at?
No, but if you want me to look it up.
No, you don't have to. Yeah,
I would butcher the spelling of that, but I'm sure it's great.
Bettendorf, Iowa.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Bettendorf.
Okay.
Yeah, it's near Davenport, so it's near Seth Rollins' hometown. It looks like.
All right. There you go.
Yeah.
He might be his friend. All right. So this is
be.
yeah. Loving the show. I joined in August, and I love the banter. Thank you for the opportunity to chime in. Well, you're welcome, Gabriel. My question is, if you were stranded on an island with 3 wrestlers, who would it be? All right.
Okay. Punk, MJF, They Need Entertainment, and Punk, MJF, and I'm going to go Moxley.
Okay.
For a little crazy factor. Yeah, off the top of my head.
Okay. I'm taking Hangman Adam Page.
Fair. Oh, the drinking ass. Damn it.
Yeah, I am taking Wayne the Train Bloom. If you've heard the story about myself and the English professor meeting them in New York years back, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You understand where I'm going with this. We're just getting drunk.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe the Iron Sheik. That's our entertainment.
That'd be entertaining. You know what? I'm trading Moxley for Austin. I can get beers that way.
Yeah, he'll bring his beers.
The island. Yeah, he'll bring his beers. I'll get some Broken Skull IPAs out of this. I'll be fine with that.
Son of a bitch. All right, well, I won't take yours. So, that was from Gabriel from Bentendorf, Iowa. That sounds like a nice place.
It does sound like a great place.
This is from Blake. Blake doesn't say much. Hi, guys. Okay. I like the concept of your show. Thanks. But is Mark really a garbage man? Yeah, I am, dude. I really am. This is not a shoot. This is this is a shoot. I really am a fucking garbage man. I hate it.
Now, is there truth to the rumor you wrestled Duke the Dumpster Josie for the name?
I
And
did have
and the
to.
Garbage Man person. Yeah.
I did
Did
have
you-
to. Actually, I bought
did
it
you-
from him then. We had a match and he destroyed me.
Oh,
And
okay.
then just like, when you're getting traded to a NFL team, you can buy the jersey number.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to buy the Can Crusher name from Duke the Dumpster.
That's fair. You know,
Yeah.
that happens sometimes. Next time, if you have somebody in your corner, it might be help you steal and win one.
Right.
Okay.
Blake's we've done this one before, Blake. Your Mount Rushmore of guys and gals. So we can probably run through this one rather quickly. I know I've done this one before. So
Do you want to do yours? Give me a couple seconds to place mine together. I think I've done it in my head, but
yeah, mine's kind of rather weird, but it fits. Without a doubt, it's Flair Hogan. Savage is on the top because of promos and everything that he brought to life. And my fourth one is always rough because it could be Andre for the big guy. It could be Dusty for kind of what he did for booking. But essentially, I always head back to and I'm not disregarding Cena for what he did either, or Stone Cold. But I'm a little bit older, so I go back that way. Wrestling wouldn't be wrestling without Hogan. Flair's the greatest wrestler of all time. In my book, Savage had some of the greatest promos in life. And then I just look at the wrestling aspect of it and entertainment, and Dusty entertained me a lot. So those are my guys.
That's fair. That's fair. I have Flair on mine. I'm also going to put Undertaker on there because he was a big, agile performer, and he always drew my mind. So I always loved Taker. And this probably shows, not disparage you in any way, but an age difference, because I put Austin on that list because I think Austin was pure entertainment. And then I'm putting Hitman on there from the wrestling aspect. I love Bret Hart. Bret Hart is probably my favorite wrestler of all time. If that's a question coming up, sorry for the spoiler, but
it's not.
Okay, that's great. But I love watching Bret Hart's products. I loved watching him his own, and all of it. I could go on days for it. But I would put Bret on that Mount Rushmore because just from the aspect of how good he was in the ring. So that would be my top four.
And now we have to do it for the gals. The gals it's changed. I'm not one to go way back in history because I think what people are doing now is actually more revolutionary. So I will give it. I was never a big Trish fan, so everybody's gonna be pissed at me. I'll give it to Lita, and then I go with Paige for what she did, AJ Lee, and then my fourth is always a toss-up. I love Bayley for Bayley, but I don't think she's up there with Charlotte or Sasha. And I respect Charlotte, but I will give it to Sasha at this point. And in time, it could change to other people, but two of them will always be up there three of them will always be up there, as in Lita, AJ Lee, and Paige. Sherry Martel could be thrown up there as well, but I think I try to look past the TNA part of women, and then when they were kind of just a sideshow, not getting a lot of respect. Just on the show, Moolah, Mae Young, stuff like that. What they did for the business, yes, I agree. But look what these women now have done to better the business.
Agreed. My top four, I'm definitely putting Lita in there because Lita was a athletic performer in her own right. I do put Trish in there. I think Trish did help, and her rivalry with Lita did help push women are more than objects in the ring. And I think that's a key distinction to be made. Yes, she had to participate in a lot of those TNA, bra and panty type things, but I think she was a very good performer in her own right. So I put her on that list. I do put Sasha on my list as well because I think Sasha is one of the most talented women that we've seen in a long, long time. Number 4 is up in the air. I don't think it's Charlotte. I would say from the past couple of years, I'm putting Becky in the top 4 right now for me. I love the man shtick, and I think she has really put herself over. Has she had the greatest quality of matches? Not as some of the resumes of Sasha or Bayley or even Charlotte to some extent, but I do think Becky has done a lot for entertaining the fans and has been a very entertaining performer when she's been in the ring.
Nice. All right, that was from Blake, from Parts Unknown, essentially.
Yeah.
The real Parts Unknown.
Ah, very nice.
Last question, Jenks, and then we'll wrap this up. And this is a good one, so we'll have some banter as we're going a little bit long, but that's okay. Do you think first of all, this is from Cindy from Mississippi. Do you think Tessa Blanchard will ever return?
I'm going to say she'll return at some point. I don't know where, though. And I know there's a lot she has done in the past and that, but I feel like somebody will pick her up at some point. I just don't know where it's going to be or when it's going to be. Yeah, I think at some point she will be back.
I predicted on one other show at the beginning of this year that Tessa Blanchard would be AEW champion by the end of this year. Now I know that prediction is going to be wrong. I don't see it happening, but I thought they were mending ways from last year and things were going to, work themselves out. You heard some talk earlier at the end of last year of maybe some WWE stuff heading to NXT. I think that would be I think anything WWE for her would be horrible.
Yeah.
I think she burned a bridge at Impact. I really do. I think she needs to, and I know she is. She's getting out there doing some indie shows and everything. That's great. Build up your reputation again. Show that whatever you did is in the past. But I essentially say at some point her dad is at AEW. If he puts his job on the line, saying, "Hey, she's one of the greatest women talents out there. Bring her in. If it doesn't work out, I'll step away too." I think that's something that's probably going to happen. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of all the works and everything. You know how that is. We're wrestling analysts by the way the dogs are up and about now. We are wrestling analysts, wrestling journalists, whatever you want to say. We're not in the business. But I think at some point, Tony Khan will give Tessa the shot, and because there's so many feuds built for Tessa already in AEW.
That's fair, and it's probably going to end up being the prove to me that you're going to be a team player, or prove to me that you're not going to be a distraction that you have been in the past. I think that's how Tony Khan brings her in, and that's before she even gets the AEW World Title, if that's how she is brought in.
Oh yeah, for sure. She might take a few L's for a while just to prove that she is a team player.
Yep.
So
agreed.
Jenks, how did you like your first Can Crushers? Ask Can Crushers.
I loved it. Some great thought-provoking questions and things that I hadn't really thought about to prep for it. So I tried my best without knowing the questions. So I was hoping that Mount Rushmore one would come up because that was easy to answer. But I liked it a lot. I love the questions. Keep them flowing.
Right. Keep them flowing. Send them in weekly even. We can answer a couple questions every week. We won't do a deep dive as we just did.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I would love it. I think the Can Crusher Nation out there has a lot of great questions that are burning and chomping at the bit to be asked. So
yeah. All right, Jenks. I know you got some more flooring to do, but we have a new show coming up tomorrow with a 40-year dash, don't we?
Oh, we do. It's a Jenks Update episode 2, so you're going to hear a little bit more about the flooring, some card collections, and a little Instagram account that's been started. So great preview for that. And still waiting on that package, Mark. I don't know where that's coming in at, but
I think it's being walked over from China.
Might get here faster at this point.
At this point, yes. A dolphin could have swam it through the channels of Guam or whatever.
Walked it through the Sahara.
I just hate going to the post office. Maybe I should just send my wife.
Well, maybe you can bring that.
capable, I
Maybe-
think.
So why don't you should bring that up on the Martinez Lounge? Come up here.
I was just gonna bring that because the Martinez Lounge is going to debut tomorrow as well. It's kind of just gonna be our introductory show, telling what's gonna go on the show and everything. Kelly's biting at the bit to throw me under the bus on a lot of things in life. And if you guys are like, what the hell is the Martinez Lounge? It is we're not therapists. So this is just a thing Kelly and I are going to do. It's a explanation, more or less, of our 15-plus year relationship. And it's essentially closer to 17 years, but 17 is just a stupid number. So I like keeping everything rounded, so 15-plus. And then when we get to 20, it'll be 20-plus. So it's just us battling through our hardships to our victories to getting some cool memories that we have of, giving up a job and being an intern in a baseball place and barely making it to rounding back around to me being a garbage man, starting a podcast and bringing her into this whole scheme. And then just getting friends on and talking about, maybe some relationship stuff that, hey, we've battled through this and this is how we did it. It might not help you, but it might help you. So, yeah, the Martinez Lounge will be released tomorrow on all podcasts, whatever the hell you call them, everywhere.
I can't wait to hear the introductory episode. And I love the concept of it because it shows that, people, this is how we work through things and people are different. So it just shows a different way of looking at different problems or just life goals and trying to achieve them. So
I could get into a lot of trouble on this podcast with her, though. It's going to be real talk. There's going to probably be real fights in time on it, but we'll have to solve it in 30 minutes.
You got to. You have to. Hopefully it doesn't revolve around leaving weddings and all of that, but, I think you can figure it out.
Lifting a couch cushion and pissing in it.
Yeah, little things like that.
Guys, check out all our socials for Can Crushers. All of them are at Can Crusher 69. Send us an email, cancrusher69@gmail.com. Phone us in at 814-299-6687. Leave us a voicemail. Be like Megan and be on the show. Yeah, all of that happy horse shit. We're there. Follow us on every podcast platform because we're out there. And again, thank you everybody for sending in the questions this week. We had a blast. I love Can Crushers. I love podcasting. I love having my friend Jenks along with this ride now. And let's see how much I love having my wife on the Martinez Lounge.
I'm sure you're going to just love it to death.
Remember, Jenks, just because I'm trash, it doesn't mean we can't do great things.
It's a garbage can, not a garbage cannot.
We'll see you soon, buddy.
Bye, buddy.